Have you ever walked into a place thinking it was just another job, only to discover that something there was waiting to change your life? Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a moment. Maybe it's a truth you've been running from. But somehow, the night has a way of showing us things we never expected. And for her, what happened after midnight on that ranch was nothing like what she planned. Hi there, and welcome to Story Soul Secret. If this is your first time here, I'm really glad you clicked on the story. And if you've been with us before, thank you for returning. Stay with me until the end, because somewhere in this story, you might hear something your heart has been waiting for. Maya stood at the side of a long dirt road, holding a small duffel bag that felt heavier than it looked. The night air was cool, brushing against her skin as she looked toward a ranch lit by only a few warm lights. Everything around her was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels both peaceful and a little scary at the same time. She didn't plan to end up here. She didn't plan to start over in a small town far from everything she knew. But life had pushed her, and the road behind her held things she didn't want to go back to. She took a slow breath and walked toward the wooden gate. The gravel crunched under her boots. Somewhere in the distance, a horse let out a soft sound. The ranch looked old but calm, lonely but safe. And for reasons she couldn't explain, that felt right. Maybe loneliness feels different when it belongs to a place and not a person. She walked up the porch steps and knocked on the door. After a moment, it opened. A tall man stood there, his shoulders broad, his face serious but not unfriendly. His eyes were dark and steady, the kind that could see more than what someone said out loud. "You here for the night caretaker job?" he asked, his voice deep and calm. "Yes," she said. "If it's still available." "It is," he replied. "Most people don't want the night shift. It gets real quiet out here, sometimes too quiet." "That's okay," she said softly. "Quiet is good for me." He studied her for a moment, then stepped aside. "I'm Elias." "Maya," she replied. The house looked simple inside, clean, organized, a little worn out in some places. It felt like a home that didn't get many visitors. He handed her a paper with instructions: when to check the animals, where to walk, what tools to use. "You start tonight," he said. "Just keep an eye on things. The night can make normal sounds seem strange, but you'll get used to it." She nodded, though she wasn't sure she believed it. But she thanked him and stepped back into the night. The barn stood a short walk away. She headed toward it, the moon lighting her path. Inside, the warm smell of hay and animals wrapped around her. The horses shifted gently, their eyes soft, their breathing steady. Something about them calmed her. Animals didn't judge or question. They didn't ask what you were running from. As she worked brushing coats, checking water, sweeping the floor, her thoughts felt a little lighter. The silence wasn't so sharp anymore. It felt more like a blanket than a cage. But later in the night, she heard something. A metallic clink, then a faint thud. Her body went tense instantly. She looked toward the darkness outside but saw nothing. The horses grew restless. Her heart thumped hard against her ribs. "Maya?" She turned quickly. Elias stood at the barn entrance with a flashlight. "You look like you heard something." "There's something out there," she said, her voice thinner than she wanted. He listened, his face calm but focused. Another faint sound carried across the field. "Stay here," he said gently. She watched him walk into the darkness, the flashlight beam slicing through the night. Her breath felt shaky. Minutes passed before he came back. "Probably raccoons," he said, but she could tell he wasn't completely certain. "It happens at night." She nodded, though fear still pressed against her chest. "You did good," he said. "No, I didn't." He didn't argue or dismiss her feelings. He just nodded once, as if saying it was okay to be honest about fear. The rest of the night moved slowly. She worked to keep her mind steady, and somehow she did. When morning light appeared, touching the sky with soft colors, she felt tired but proud. Elias met her near the gate. "Good work," he said simply. "Thanks for earlier," she replied. "You're part of the ranch now," he said. "I look out for my people." The words hit her unexpectedly, like a warmth she didn't realize she needed. She walked back to the small guest cabin he set up for her and fell asleep quickly. When she woke, evening was already settling again. She returned to the barn, and the night felt calmer this time. She worked quietly, the animals responding to her gentle touch. Around midnight, Elias showed up again, 2 warm mugs in hand. "You look like you could use something hot," he said. She accepted the tea, the steam warming her hands. They drank together quietly. She liked that he didn't talk, just to fill silence. His presence felt steady, grounded. Storm might hit tomorrow, he said. Could get noisy. Her breath hitched a little. Storms made her uneasy. You okay with storms? He asked. She forced a small smile. Not really. He nodded like he understood more than she explained. When he left, she felt his absence more than she expected. The storm arrived earlier than predicted. A sharp crack of thunder tore through the sky, followed by bright flashes that lit the barn like a camera shutter. Maya's heart pounded. Her breath came fast. Memories she tried to bury surged back, loud and overwhelming. She slid down against the wall, covering her ears, feeling a panic she couldn't control. Then she sensed him before she even saw him. Elias stepped into the barn, rain on his jacket, his face calm but full of concern. He crouched beside her. He didn't touch her. He didn't tell her to calm down. He just stayed there, close enough to remind her she wasn't alone. You're okay, he said softly. I'm right here. Something inside her cracked open, not in a painful way, but in a releasing way, like she'd been holding her breath for far too long. She cried without meaning to, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. Elias didn't turn away. He didn't rush her. He stayed until the storm eased and her breathing slowed. When morning came, she felt different, lighter in a way she didn't understand yet. And when she walked back to her cabin, she realized something she hadn't felt in months. She wasn't afraid to come back the next night. She wasn't afraid of the silence anymore. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. Days passed slowly, and each night Maya felt herself settling more into the rhythm of the ranch. The work was hard, but it was the kind that made her feel needed. Every night she learned something new, how to check the animals, how to pay attention to changes in their moods, how to spot things before they became problems. Elias taught her little by little, but he never made her feel stupid or slow. He explained things gently, with patience she wasn't used to. She also noticed small things about him. The way he always paused before speaking, like he wanted to be sure his words were the right ones. The way he always kept the lantern slightly closer to her when they walked at night, so she didn't trip on anything. The way he watched the sky before storms, as if listening to something only he could hear. One night, as they were working together in the barn, the wind grew strong again. The doors rattled slightly, and for a moment Maya felt that same fear rising in her chest, but this time she breathed through it. You all right? Elias asked softly. She nodded. Yeah, I'm okay. He watched her closely, like he could see the truth in her eyes. You handled it better tonight. I'm trying, she said. You're doing more than trying, he replied. You're healing. She didn't know what to say to that. Healing wasn't a word she used for herself. But maybe he was right. Maybe this place really was changing her. They finished their tasks and stepped outside. The wind had already settled, leaving a soft, cool night behind. The moon lit the path toward the fields, and Maya felt drawn to it. She walked ahead a few steps, and Elias followed. They reached the fence line and stopped. The grass moved gently, like the world was breathing. Everything felt calm. Maya, Elias said quietly, can I tell you something? She turned to face him. Of course. When you first came here, I thought you wouldn't last more than a day, he admitted. She raised her eyebrows, half surprised and half amused. Thanks for the vote of confidence, she teased lightly. He smiled a little. No, I mean you looked hurt. Not weak. Just tired in a way I knew too well. Her smile faded gently. You saw that? Yeah, he said, because I felt it too. She looked down at the ground, her boot shifting in the dirt. What happened to you? She asked softly. He took a slow breath. My family, we weren't close near the end. Too many fights, too much distance. I tried to fix the pieces, but life had its own plans. Then my brother passed away. We didn't get to talk things out. I never got the chance to say the things I should have said. Her eyes softened. I'm sorry. It changed me, he said. Made me shut down. Made me push people away. I didn't want to get close to anyone new. Then why let me work here? She asked. He met her eyes. Because something in me said you needed a place. And maybe I did too. A quiet moment passed between them, full of things neither knew how to say. Maya stepped a little closer, but slowly, giving him time to move if he felt uncomfortable. He didn't move. He stood still, watching her with gentle eyes. I needed somewhere to breathe again, she whispered. Somewhere to remember who I am. You're remembering, he replied. A soft warmth filled her chest. They both looked out at the fields again. The night felt peaceful, like the world wasn't asking anything from them, just letting them be there. After a while, they walked back to the barn. On the way, Maya stumbled slightly on a rock, and Elias reached out instantly, steadying her with one hand on her arm. You okay? He asked. She laughed softly. Yeah, guess I wasn't paying attention. He didn't let go right away. His hand stayed there for a second longer than needed. Not long enough to be awkward, just long enough to say something without words. When he finally let go, she felt the warmth linger. As the night went on, they continued working together. He showed her how to mix the feed properly, how to check for early signs of sickness in the animals, how to keep calm during small emergencies. She watched how he moved, steady, quiet, thoughtful. At around 4 in the morning, the sky began to lighten. Maya walked toward the cabin, tired but peaceful. When she reached the door, she looked back and saw Elias standing near the barn, watching her. Not in a strange way, just in a quiet, caring way. She lifted her hand in a small wave. He lifted his back. The next night, something unexpected happened. When she arrived at the barn, she found a small folded note on the bench. She picked it up and opened it. It said, "Meet me at the big oak tree when you're free." Her heart fluttered a little. Later that night, when her tasks were finished, she walked toward the oak tree near the far edge of the field. It stood tall and wide, with branches spreading like arms open to the sky. The grass around it was short and soft. Elias was there waiting. He looked unsure, like he wasn't used to doing something like this. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," he said. "I'm here," she replied softly. He looked down, then back at her. "I wanted to give you something." He pulled something from his pocket. It was a small wooden carving, smooth and simple, a tiny horse carved by hand. Maya's breath caught. "Elias, this is beautiful." "It's nothing big," he said. I want you to have it so you remember this place gave you some good memories, not just the heavy ones." She held it gently. "Thank you." "Really?" He nodded slowly, like he was nervous. "Maya, I don't want to push you or move too fast. I know you've been through things that take time. But if you ever feel ready, if you ever want something more than friendship, I just want you to know I'm here. No pressure, no rush." Her eyes watered, not from sadness, but from the weight of being understood without being forced. She stepped closer, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "I don't know where I'm going yet," she said quietly. "I don't know how long it'll take me to feel whole again. But being here with you, it's the first time in years I felt like I can breathe. And maybe that's the start of something." His eyes softened. "It's enough. You're enough." She smiled through the tears. It was small but real. They stood under the oak tree as the breeze moved through the branches. No rush, no pressure. Just two people who had been broken in different ways, slowly learning how to stand again. Maya looked up at the sky. For the first time in a long time, the night didn't scare her. It felt like a blanket wrapped around her, gentle and safe. Beside her, Elias looked at peace too. She reached out slowly and touched his hand. He didn't grab her fingers, didn't hold tight. He simply let their hands rest together, warm and calm. It was enough. She didn't know what the future would look like, but she knew she wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't lost. She had a place. She had hope. And maybe, just maybe, she had the start of a love that would grow slowly, kindly, and honestly. Sometimes healing doesn't come in loud moments. Sometimes it comes in quiet nights, on a ranch, in gentle hands, in small wooden carvings, in shared silence, and in someone who sees the broken parts of you and stays anyway. Maya closed her eyes and breathed in the cool night air. For the first time in years, she whispered a truth she finally believed. "I'm safe, and I'm home." And if you've made it all the way to the end of this story, thank you. Truly, your support means more than you know. Stories like this are made from the heart, and I'm grateful you shared your time with me today. If you enjoyed this journey, if it touched you even a little, please remember to come back to Story Soul Secret for more stories filled with emotion, hope, love, and the quiet moments that change everything. There are so many stories waiting for you here. Stories that heal, stories that warm your heart, and stories that might even feel a little like your own. So don't forget to follow, stay close, and check it often, because the next story might be the one you've been waiting for. Thank you for being here. And until the next story, stay safe, stay hopeful, and keep your soul open to the secrets life wants to tell you.